And now for something completely different.
The Bitchspot Report. Welcome to the Bitchspot Report, the conservative atheist podcast that's not afraid to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Every week, your hosts, Cephas and Mike, will take on the latest religious and political news and examine the world around us from a distinctly conservative and skeptical perspective. Join us now for this episode of the Bitchspot Report. Making enemies wherever we go. This is the Bitchspot Report Podcast, episode 63, the only conservative atheist show around, because we're not afraid to tell it like it actually is. This week, we find that not discriminating is actually bullying Christians. We expand on coverage from last week. Hobby Lobby Steve Green really is pushing to get biblical truth taught in public schools. Americans are absurdly stupid, and religion is to blame, and churches and guns. What could possibly go wrong? Plus, we have a short talk about the unfortunate trend toward liberal and religious revenge politics. Sit down, strap in, and open your ear holes as we leap headlong into the Bitchspot Report podcast. So how's it going now that we've taken another week off?
Yeah, it's actually going great. What I was mentioning last week, if we would have had the show, my ducks are back, so I'm a very happy person. I could sit back, have my cigarette, watch them walk around, kind of a calming influence, and have a few, I've been getting good news. My mom's doing real well. She's coming right along with her, rehab. She's walking again. She's, apparently the only issues now is, her lungs have lost some capacity because she couldn't move with the arthritis in the hip, and, so they're trying to build that back up. So, my mom's on a good track there, so that's a load off my mind. And,
yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, so she's kicking ass, so not bad for a 70-year-old.
Yeah, my mom turned 70 this year too, but she's still got all of her parts, so keep your fingers crossed.
Right. Yeah. And I even got some chuckles just this past week. This is funny. This is the funniest thing I've heard. You know, on this show we do a lot of, the Pat Robertson goofiness, even the sad stuff, the religious horror show type stuff, there's so much craziness that we normally deal with. And I came across, actually, Stuart Robbins of the Exposing Pseudo-Astronomy podcast turned me on to a clip from, George Norrie's Coast to Coast AM, where they had this guy, Jacob Aberson, who, his father, I guess, was a co-author on the quintessential conspiracy book, None Dare Call It Conspiracy. This is all this New World Order, Illuminati crap. And I'm listening to this guy, and I'm hearing so much stupidity. I mean, this guy makes Pat Robertson look sane, okay? And that's an accurate statement.
Yeah.
Apparently, the Illuminati, which of course is supposed to be this cabal that runs the world and trying to, take over everything, shoot us up with vaccines and, fluoridate our water and all this stuff to dumb us down. Apparently the Illuminati is controlled by the gray aliens, who are controlled by the reptilian aliens, who is controlled by Lucifer.
Okay. Excuse me as I slowly back away from this guy.
Yes. And apparently the Catholics have been worshiping Lucifer all along because somehow they had been, there's this weird, he makes these connections back to ancient Egypt where the sun god Ra, supposedly was Lucifer, because of the morning star or whatever, that crap. And that was given to the Babylonians that ended up with the Portuguese. It got to the Germans. It got to England. And I'm like, okay, this guy, I think he needs to find, some better drugs because, it was just all over the place. Everything was, Lucifer this, and apparently, and he's calling out MUFON, these guys that investigate UFOs, that they've been hiding information from the public about the gray aliens and the reptilians who apparently they're the ones that, kidnap people and steal their genitalia and stuff like that, or whatever they do. And to ward off the gray aliens is you're supposed to say, leave me in the name of Jesus Christ. And that makes him go away.
Oh, good.
And I'm like, oh my God, how, it's just so hilarious. And he goes on, and it's all this Christian stuff. And George Norrie is like, oh, this is incredible. This is amazing information. This is, this guy really did his, research. I'm like, what research? This guy was on an acid trip and came up with all this shit,
Yeah.
And I just started laughing through. I'm taking notes because I'm hoping to do a show I want to do the show on the Illuminati anyhow. So this is just another chapter to this whole story. But I'm sitting there past couple days. I'll listen to it. It's only 2 hours of, an hour and a half plus a half hour of people calling in.
Stupid people who are up that late calling in.
Yeah. And I'm getting a kick out of it, and I'm going to look a few things up. I actually just finished a 40-hour lecture on ancient Egypt, the history of Egypt, from beginning to end, basically. And so I think I got a good handle on ancient Egypt. So I think I could do a couple interesting shows coming up.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm surrounded by a bunch of idiots when I'm talking to the religious, but Jesus, man. You find some really crazy people.
Yeah, and it's even funny. He says he was when he was a kid, he was a surfer, skateboarder, professional skateboarder.
Apparently, he hit his head a lot.
One too many concussions. Then he sat down with a Bible, and everything came to him. It's like, oh my God, it's like this is just totally out there because his father he believed in this Illuminati, but even in that book, I've read the None Dare Call It Conspiracy, and there's nothing in it about any type of religious. The book is all about, the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and how they're manipulating everything and how they created the Second World War, and they, it's all a lot of crazy, weird connections. It's that a lot of connecting dots, this idea, how our brains like to connect dots. So they connected dots all from the beginning, with the Illuminati to, communism, how, the UN was created and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, it's out there, but this isn't as bad as what this guy was talking about. So I'm like, oh my God, it's like, this is insane.
This guy was connecting dots that weren't even there.
Pretty much, yeah. He's making it up.
Of course. Well, I'm sure he's got a book he's trying to sell. I'm sure he's writing a book.
I think he already has a book. I tried to find it, and I can't find it on Amazon, so he must be self-published. So, and I'm not going to buy that. I'm not going to pay him for the book. If I can find it used, I might grab it.
Go pirate the thing. Come on.
Or pirate it. Hopefully I could. Yeah, I'll try to find it. But
I would never give anybody any money for something like that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I have no problem buying them used because it's really not going right to the author. It's going to the bookseller. So I'm kind of good with that, but I'm not going to go to, whatever, www.whatthefuck.com and buy the book there,
Right. I don't know. There are some really, really crazy fucking people out there.
Yeah. And again, it's this, the Christians, the true Christians versus the Catholic Church. Apparently, the Catholics don't worship the right God. They worship Lucifer.
Well, yeah, because they are the beast and.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. The Catholics worships the same Jesus that these people do. Why are the Catholics any different than them? But no, it's all, it's all this, the Vatican and all the hidden stuff within the Vatican, it's like, okay, we've talked about the Vatican and the shit they've hidden, but they're not hiding that they're worshiping Lucifer. They're hiding the pedophile priests and all that kind of crap,
Right.
So, well, I'll save it for my show because it's, I can go on and on and on about this guy and pretty much anything Illuminati related because it is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I guess keep us updated on the craziness, but
yeah,
Jesus, these people are just stupid.
Yeah, and this guy's beyond stupid.
Oh, I've seen people just like it who just go out there and rant and rave and make up crap, and, they're drawing connections between things where there are no connections, and they can't tell the difference between correlation and causation and all the rest of this crap.
Right.
And of course they're all religious, and we know that if you fall for one stupid pile of woo, which is religion, you're willing to fall for all kinds of stupid piles of woo, which is why the religious are also, a lot of them are into astrology, and they're into crystals, and they're into all this other crap that doesn't make any sense. But hey, if you're gonna fall for one load of crap, what the fuck? There's a lot of loads of crap out there you can fall for.
Exactly. I mean, when your mind's open to, mythical sky being, yeah, your mind's open that, there's demons. I mean, Robertson talks about it. The Catholics, they seem to be, trying to keep promoting the fact that demons exist. And so this guy's just taking it to the next level, and the demons are controlling the world,
Yeah. But they're insane because none of these things actually exist.
Right.
You guys are all delusional. You guys need help. Serious psychological help and drugs. Lots of drugs. The kind that put you out and put you into a medically induced coma. That would be good.
Yes.
Go away.
Please.
All right. Well, the only thing I really wanted to touch on this week, and it was something that we were going to talk about last week, but of course nothing really happened last week, was we've mentioned before that we don't get a lot of feedback about the show. And over on Google Plus, somebody, we had said in the Irreverent Skeptics, community that, we promoted the show, and somebody came back, said they listened to it and that they didn't like it. It wasn't the show for them. And they just sat down and started complaining about things. And I'm going, well, okay, it's fine if it's not the show for you. I understand that. It's not the show for, there's no show out there that's the show for everybody. You pick and you choose, and you listen to a lot of podcasts and pick the ones that you like, and I'm cool with that. But you don't just sit there and bitch and whine and moan, and then when I show up and I say, hey, okay, well then, you're welcome to come on the show and address any of these points, or right here, you're welcome to, argue any of the points that you brought. And then they just disappear and they just stop talking because they don't actually have the guts to stand up for what they say.
Right.
And I'm happy that probably next week we're going to have a guest on who is going to do exactly what I would like people to do. All right. This guy's my hero right now, but we're not going to mention names because it's not 100% set in stone. But if you're going to sit down and criticize us for the things that we say, at least have the balls to stand up behind what you want or behind what you accuse us of. I don't get people like that.
Yeah. I've had a few occasions where I love the comments. I don't agree with the logic, but I like the show, but I don't agree with the logic, or, I have to disagree with the logic. And I go, well, explain to me what logic, that is flawed. And I never hear anything. So I think there's people just like to complain, because that's what they like to do. They just want to complain, and, there's definitely the trolls out there, and I kind of wonder, I had this one, I'm 100% convinced it was a troll, calling me out on a grammar error that, his sentence structure was terrible, and I like, dude, I think I've said it before, if you got an issue with my grammar, great. Just make sure your grammar is, correct when you attack it, type of thing. And, but it just seems like there's people who just, they just have to complain. If you don't like the show, there's plenty of other podcasts that may be up your alley. If you really have a beef, if you like the show enough, you want to help us or give us some kind of feedback. And if you want to challenge us, I have no issue with anyone challenging my or your, anything we've said on this show.
Yeah.
What can you do? It's like if you're going to snipe, email and snipe at somebody just because it makes you feel superior, hey, we don't need to go any further on that, type of thing.
Yeah. We have a standing invitation to anybody who disagrees with anything that we have to say to come on the show. I want liberals on the show. I want libertarians on the show. I want Christians and Muslims and Jews. I want them on the show because I want these people to be able to stand up and demonstrate that what they believe is actually true. And let's be honest, at least on the religious side, we know that none of these people can actually do that. They'll claim it, they play a good game, but when the rubber hits the road, they can't do a goddamn thing. And we know that. They know that. That's why they won't do it. I've gone to forums, I've gone to communities, I've done it on Twitter where I've said, please, anybody who thinks that they can come on and defend their faith, we have an open standing invitation. Come on. Never hear a word. You get crickets, but that's about it.
Right. Yeah. 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 And, I don't let it work. I mean, it doesn't bother me.
Well, it doesn't bother me either. I could care less.
Stand up, have some cojones. If you really do believe that we're wrong or, there's something wrong about something we've said, hey, there's a mic open for you.
Yep.
It's waiting for you,
Yep.
Just send us an email. If you can't find, for the Bitchspot, send it to my email. I mean, you can find my website if you know where that is, or the Reverend Skeptics, any of them. And, we'll get the message and we will make arrangements to have you on.
Yep. We are very open and available out there. And if anybody has something to say, you have a place to say it. Keep in mind, you are not going to be given an unchallenged, opportunity. You're not going to be able to just come on and preach. You're going to actually have to stand up and defend what you believe rationally. And I honestly think that a lot of people are just afraid to do that. So, I don't know, I mean, I'm not calling this guy out. I'm not throwing his name out or anything, but he's an example of what we don't want to see. If you got something to say, you know where to say it. If you don't want to say it, it's one of those put up or shut up. Yeah. If you're unwilling to put up, you're not helping anybody by, spewing your crap on the internet. And with all that, let's go ahead and do some news from last week.
Yep.
And now the news. It's those fun-loving folk at the American Family Association again, and they claim that by telling the world that a business doesn't discriminate, they're somehow bullying Christians who do discriminate. In Mississippi, Equality Mississippi is distributing stickers to businesses that they can put in their windows to declare we don't discriminate. They tell people that if you're buying, we're selling. Apparently, that's a horrible thing for Christian businesses that not only won't display the stickers, but are happily discriminating against gays. As I say pretty much every show, what the hell is wrong with these people?
This is business, I mean, I think we made the point that if you want to discriminate, knock yourself out. If you want to discriminate against a race or gender or sexual orientation, go for it. But you know what? Money is green. I mean, their money is just the same as anyone else's. And if you don't want to sell to them, I will happily sell to them. And I'll take that money if you don't want to take their money, I'm happy to take their money. I mean, that's just business. And it's way cool that they're putting these stickers up. We don't discriminate. That, you can go into, wherever and no problem.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think this is just a really, really good tactic where you've got the religious who wanted to oppress others. Go around, hand out stickers to all the decent businesses and watch the Christians go out of business.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I love how they've turned this into that they're being now the Christians are being discriminated. No, you did this to yourselves, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
You're so-called that it's against your whatevers and this is an abomination, whatever, and we don't want to condone this behavior. Okay, that's your right. But, if the shop next door doesn't really give a shit who comes through that door, you're fucked,
Yeah, well, I mean, according to AFA spokesman Buddy Smith, he says, if you do that, you're agreeing with these businesses that Christians no longer have the freedom to live out from the dictates of their Christian faith and conscience. Well, where the fuck does that come from? Clearly these people have the right to do that. It is legal in Mississippi to discriminate against gays as long as you do it from a religious perspective. But guys, actions have consequences. And if people don't shop at stores that discriminate, fine. That's up to the individual consumer. You've got a right to discriminate. People have a right to take their business elsewhere. These people don't want that. They want their cake and they want to eat it too.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I want to say, didn't these people think?
And no.
And I think I answered myself right there at that point. Because, it's like, yeah, if you have this big a problem with, and then whoever, I know this was targeted for, homosexuals against homosexuals, but you know what? It floors me at these, they can't see past their own self-righteousness. It's like they kind of sound like liberals. I'm entitled to all this business. But, if the guy next door is putting these stickers saying we don't discriminate, I might have to change my mind if I want to stay in business. And,
oh, sure.
Nobody was thinking. None of these guys that pushed this through thought about the consequences. And this is the consequence.
Oh, sure.
They wanted to press forward their little religious agenda. They want to force their religious beliefs upon everyone else. And then when they try, it is a law, so it's a legal means, but, the market takes over. You just basically you're telling everybody to go to buy somewhere else. And we're not just talking gays. Well, of course, probably seek out the, we don't discriminate, but there's people who are not gay who will say, well, you know what? I don't want to buy from, a racist fuck. And I would seek out, the we don't discriminate stickers. So, you're basically, you fucked yourself over. And now you're crying foul because you made the mistake. Oh, this is terrible, and it's not. This is business as usual,
Right.
Anybody who would turn down making money they're stupid. They're just ignorant, fuckheads.
Right. Well, even if we take it away from religion, let's assume that there are racist business owners out there who don't want to serve black customers. So, okay, they don't want to. It's legal for them to do so, let's say. And if the guy next door puts this sticker up that just says, we serve everybody, are they somehow oppressing the racists? How do you get to this position where you're oppressing people who are making a choice? You people are making a choice. You're not having this imposed on you. You're not having your churches force you not to serve gay customers. You're doing it on your own. It means you're making a bad business decision, and now you want everybody to reward you for it. No.
Yeah. I don't know what more to say about this, but it's definitely, I'm trying to kind of get my head a little bit more around this because it's, it's just, you got these guys, women, whatever, who, because of their religion, whatever, and it could be, we could, any type of discrimination, overt discrimination. In Mississippi now, I guess you can be, against gays, but, any type of overt discrimination is going to get called out one way or another. And,
well, it makes me kind of wonder, now that you brought that up, the law, and I don't know about the law, how it's written in Mississippi, but the law says that as long as you have a religious reason, that you're allowed to discriminate. I wonder if that's limited to the gays. I wonder if you can discriminate against women. I wonder if you can discriminate against blacks. Let's be honest, this is Mississippi. They probably like to have slavery back. I wonder how far this goes. You can say you can discriminate against short people if you think that's against your religion. Is this just like an open license to go out and be a discriminating dumbass or what?
Again, if it's based on a religious basis, they could probably find any number of scripture that they can point to that says a reason to discriminate. And I don't know. I don't know if it's really focused against, but it could be that you could discriminate against anybody just because of the color, gender, orientation,
religion.
Religion, yeah, because,
we don't serve them damn Jews.
Right. So if that's the case, yeah, they didn't think it through. Now they're crying foul because someone's pointing it out and started a program or a campaign to say, let's identify those who will accept. I don't understand the logic that they're being oppressed. They've oppressed themselves by their action. If we bring it back to, I guess, against, homosexuals, they didn't want, to cater or tend to homosexual purchases, that they basically, it's against our religion. Well, it's not against my religion. I'll welcome them day in, day out. And they may go to the same church. It's like, usually they do. That's like the whole town ends up at the same church or something along that line. So if you're that ignorant and don't care, yeah, you deserve to lose all that business to the guy next door. And,
then you can go back to your church and whine how you have no money and no food because you're a fucking idiot.
Exactly. And I wonder if this is going to get tested at some point too. It'll probably go away eventually, or maybe they'll let it go away if it got contested, because this is really, I keep assuming that these Christians are smart. They're not.
They're not.
They fucked themselves over, and now they're crying foul because they were stupid, and.
Yeah, I don't really think that the law will ever go away because it's completely voluntary. All right. It just says that you are allowed to do this. It doesn't say you have to. It just says you are allowed to discriminate against gays if your religion says so. Okay. So the people who discriminate against gays go out of business. They go away. They end up in the poorhouse. All the businesses who aren't stupid, they keep selling to everybody out there who's willing to buy, and they all stay in business. It's called evolution in action, and it's something that Christianity needs to fucking learn.
Yep. It's business. It is it's the market. The market's going to adjust to prevailing norms. So if this store doesn't want to sell to you, there's going to be a store that will sell to you. And once everyone figures all this out, again, it'd be kind of nice to see these guys sitting out there, on the, now trying to collect, the welfare that they've been opposed to, and they collect their, going to the church to get money, which they probably won't give them, whatever,
Oh, they'll be sitting on the street corner holding a cup with a sign that goes, "I'm an oppressed Christian."
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be
I'd actually like to see that.
Oh, that'd be a great picture. The guy, he's sitting out there, I'm oppressed, and you got a store behind it with closed, out of business, closed, type of thing. That would be just perfect.
Yeah, we got to do that. All right. Well, we should probably go on to the next story, which is sort of the same thing-ish.
Yeah. Onward Christian Soldier from the Oklahoma Gazette. Steve Green, president of Oklahoma-based Hobby Lobby, pushes for Bible education in public schools. Mustang public schools agree. And this is from May 7th. And I'll just get to the point here that while we've talked about this before, where he's looking at this Green, he's got a program. I guess it's going into tests now, which is an elective in the schools to have a Bible study. And basically it's an opt-in. There's no mandate to have, you don't have to take it. It's an elective, so on. But now he's come out, and I think we've talked about the slippery slope on this. He's now coming out and saying that he wants this to be a actual required course in the schools. And how much traction this is going to get.
Well, I mean, we were kind of worried the last time we talked about this, about him, because he was saying, it's an elective, nobody has to take it, and we were saying, okay, this might be like a comparative religions class, but now he's coming out and saying he wants to make this mandatory, everybody has to take it, and it's not going to be elective religions. They're not going to talk about the Bible or the influence of Christianity on Western civilization or anything like that. He wants them to teach that the Bible is the factual true word of God, and all this other stuff. And that's fucking crazy. I mean, that's a quick trip to the courthouse and a lot of money lost.
Yes.
But it's not Steve Green's money on the line, is it? I mean, This guy's like a mini Discovery Institute. We always talk about the Discovery Institute where they show up and they want to push all this crap into the school boards, but as soon as it comes time to pay the piper, they're gone. Steve Green's not funding any of this shit, is he?
Right, exactly. Like I think we mentioned this, the slippery slope fallacy. Well, here we are actually seeing it might be trying to be playing out here. I mean, if he can get Oklahoma to buy into this and start, making it a mandatory, it's the Discovery Institute's tactic is to, the wedge tactic is to, get in just enough. If it doesn't raise any issues or, no problems, you wedge in a little bit more. And then what ends up happening is eventually someone catches wind. They end up in court. Discovery Institute disappears and goes on to finding the next place to try to wedge in. This sounds like, this guy's working on Oklahoma after a few years, when it fails, and he'll move on to Texas probably, or move on to, Missouri, Indiana, Mississippi, whatever, try to get this to happen. And I mean, it's the same story. And it's always ways it works out. These idiots come into these towns, they say, convince, the, fellow travelers that, we need to teach creationism. We need to teach the Bible. We need to teach this stuff in these courses in the schools as mandatory. Ultimately, they'll convince enough board members to make it happen. Someone will take them to court, And when these school boards are like needing help now, they gotta decide what they're going to do. Of course, they're going to, will they settle? They might fight it. I mean, I don't know what the logic would be behind it. They may just say, if the lawyer sends a letter, that first letter, they can stop it right there. It's done. But if they want to fight it, then next thing you know, the school district's on the hook for the millions of dollars because they're going to lose because, the separation church and state, and, taxpayers are going to have to pick up the tab on it. And if they ever asked, Green, or whoever within his group that is going around selling this, can you give us a help? Can you find us lawyers? They'll say, fuck you. You screwed up.
Yeah.
Later, dude.
You screwed up by listening to him in begin with.
Yeah, you shouldn't have listened to him,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's no surprise that this is happening in the state that leads the nation in evangelical Christians. I mean, 53% of the population of Oklahoma identifies as an evangelical Christian. I don't think you can get this through anywhere else.
Probably not, but there's definitely, Louisiana's done, they've gotten laws through, Pennsylvania has tried it, Indiana's trying it, Louisiana, Mississippi, I'm surprised Missouri isn't up there, but this is probably the easiest target for them, and as a pilot getting enough, because there's probably enough people to make it look viable, and that's probably it. They'll do their stuff, get everything set up, and move on to the next town thinking, hey, we created this wonderful system in Oklahoma. You should try it, Mississippi, or you should try it, Texas. And maybe that's the idea, and, they'll say, yeah, let's do it. And, of course, at the same time, Oklahoma is being drug into the courtroom to defend what they were doing. And, this guy will probably keep saying, oh yeah, Oklahoma's a success. Oklahoma's a success. And it's like, again, they have no connection with reality. I mean, these guys are idiots.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, they don't have a clue. I mean, the Discovery Institute thinks they're successful because they've gotten so far. They were able to get creation taught in, Pennsylvania until Chris Miller Dover. And, it's just amazing that they were claiming victory after the ruling. I mean, you lost, motherfuckers. How can you claim victory?
Well, it's like, Ken Ham still claims victory over Bill Nye.
Yeah,
it's like, what debate were you at, dude? And like I was talking about in the last story, these are really the same people who declare there's a war on Christmas because people say happy holidays. These people think that if their beliefs are not being constantly validated and taught as fact, that somehow they're being attacked. They think Oklahoma is a Christian state. They're wrong. They're really delusional, and, yeah, if they want to keep paying fines, I'm fine with that. I hope Green gets hit with a huge fine for trying to do an end run around established legal guidelines. But of course, he'll never be held accountable for anything he does. The schools are going to lose. The city, the state, the nation is going to end up having to pay taxpayer money to defend these stupid lawsuits. Not only to defend against the lawsuit, but to defend the lawsuit in the first place. So we're going to get fucked twice because of Steve Green. Thanks, dude. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But you don't have any horses in this race. Nothing will happen to you no matter what happens.
Yeah. I mean, he'll go back to his, mansion he lives in his Mercedes-Benz or whatever the fuck he drives, and, he'll believe that he's done good work, and he'll probably die thinking he did everything he could to bring Christianity back to the world, and he'll be happy, fat, dumb, and happy.
Yeah.
And who cares? Fuck the Constitution. Now, I'm the one that's right. I got the money. I got the fucking, corporation that I could force people to not get birth control, and I don't want to pay Obamacare or whatever all the crap that's been heaped on Hobby Lobby. It's like, it's really a big thumb in the face of Americans, that this guy, he's this, what is he? He's CEO, right?
Yeah, he's CEO.
Yeah, he's CEO. I mean, it's his company. He runs it, and he's basically thumbing his nose at, the country and saying, fuck you. I mean, I'm right, you're wrong.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of the whole Christian thing right now.
Right.
At least evangelical Christians. I mean, I don't want to smear all Christians, but that's really the kind of thing that they're doing right now is we're right, you're wrong, fuck you, we're going to do what we want to do, and there's nothing you can do to stop us.
Right.
We need to find something to do to stop them.
Right. Yeah. And, I was going to say, if we do try to stop them, then they're being oppressed. We're the minority being oppressed. Like, fuck you.
Yeah. It's silly, but I'm sure we're going to see more of these stories as time goes on because it's just ridiculous.
Oh, I'm sure.
All right, well, let's go ahead and do another story, and this one's depressing. In what is sad news indeed, a new study reveals that Americans are really fucking stupid. Only 1 in 5 Americans think that the Big Bang is true, and only half say they believe vaccines can help prevent disease. This just helps prove what a complete disaster American education has become and how disastrous religion has been in our culture and intelligence. Once again, let's all say it together. What the fuck's wrong with these people? This is bad. This is really, really awful.
Yeah. I mean, I started looking at the chart here. It's like, 21% universe Big Bang. Earth is 4.5 billion years old, 27%. Life on Earth, including human beings, evolved through a process of natural selection, 31%. The average temperature of the world is rising mostly because of man-made heat trapping greenhouse gases, 33%. Childhood vaccines, 53%. Overusing antibiotics, 65%. Inside our cells, there's a complex genetic code that helps determine who we are, 69%. Smoking causes cancer, 82%. I wish I could figure out why these kind of numbers. I mean, even I'm a smoker. I know that smoking is bad for me. I've cut down. I'm down to a half pack a day, type of thing. I'm in the middle of quitting. I've been quitting for about a year now, but I even know that, there's stuff that's bad for you. And, I think I can understand people, when you're talking about the Big Bang. That's a world that I don't think people can really, even the smartest of people can get their heads around. I mean, unless you're, into the physics and all that kind of stuff. But some of this stuff, it's like evolution is really 99.9% factual. We know we've got the evidence and why people won't believe it. And it's like a question of whether, it's not the knowledge. They know, I would bet you they know what is evolution. They know what it is and how it works, but they just don't agree with it. That seems to be maybe the reality here is, they might be okay with a 4.5 billion old planet, but, it's, again, you can't get your head around it. And like here in the United States, it's like, it doesn't matter if it's a fact, you have to believe it, you have to have faith in it, and I think that's where we're stumbling. And I'm going to level it right at the religious who's, tried to pretend that science, you have to take science on faith. Now that's not how it works. You have to take God on faith. You can't take the scientific fact on faith.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have to remember that these numbers really only apply in the U.S.
Right.
Europe is not this stupid.
Right.
And so it's not something that just people can't wrap their heads around. It's something wrong with Americans. And unfortunately, there's a lot of pseudoscience groups out there that are trying to discredit legitimate science because it gets in the way of their woo beliefs. And that's the anti-vaxxers and the creationists and all those idiots. And unfortunately, people are way too willing to listen to these morons and not actually think about it or do their research or whatever. They haven't done their due diligence to find out that these people are just stupid and wrong. And we keep doing stories about the failure of education in the U.S., and that failure, almost without exception, is correlated with religion and ignorance. It's either people who don't have an education or who are religious. That's what's wrong. That's the problem. But what do we do about it? I mean, how do we combat this kind of abject stupidity? I don't know what to do.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know either. Maybe there's just not taking the right tact. It's like we use words like consensus. The scientific consensus is the Earth is warming. Or the scientific consensus is that evolution is fact. And maybe that somewhere in there is the problem. Because it's like, maybe it's just, maybe it's just we got a country full of trolls that they don't want to ever admit that, hey, I'm good with evolution, but I can't agree with it because everyone else does. So I'm going to be a fucktard and attack it. It's that may be a stretch, but you know what? I'm almost positive that if you really actually look at any one of these, anything on this list, take, if you're a listener who doesn't believe with some of these things and you're in the other percent, take one of these and actually look the information up. Evolution, you've got, hundreds of books, hundreds of papers. There's so much evidence.
But these people don't care because it doesn't appear in the Bible. That's the problem. The Bible is the only book they care about.
Well, what I'm trying to get at is do an honest look at it. And then if you could still come back to your Bible, then, fine. Live in your crazy world. Just stay out of the real world, that's the only thing I could say, because if you can't grasp the reality, you really don't belong in this world. You're too far gone. And if you have to fall back on your Bibles or your Qurans, your whatever pieces of paper, then there's really no hope for the United States. We're going to become a third world nation. We're on our way to becoming a third world nation. And you know what? Fuck it. I'm off to Canada. At least they're smart up there.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that I'm starting to think, and this is really kind of a depressing thought, although we do a lot of depressing things on the show. But I really think that one of the reasons why we're having this problem is because of the way that the U.S. has always been set up. The U.S. has always looked at people as rugged individualists who have a right to think their own thing and, speak their own mind and all the rest of this stuff. And there's an awful lot of people out there who think they get to have their own reality, who get to say, hey, I don't give a shit what the evidence says. I don't give a shit what anything else says. As long as this makes me feel good, this is the way things actually are. And you don't really see that in other countries where they don't have that kind of, we are individuals and nobody can say otherwise. I'm really starting to think that the American way is fucking up America.
You know what? That actually does make a lot of sense. Certainly, we are made up of people who were bucking the systems back in Europe. They were leaving religious oppressions and leaving, the oppressive religions and governments and coming to the United States where there was no government. There was no long arm of the church. You can bring your churches with you. You can bring you bring your own laws. You bring everything with you. Stake out a claim in the United States and, you either succeed or fail. Coming to think about it, I worked at this one place. I'm not going to give a name. And this was like a new product that had come out, and these guys had these were the guys on the front lines. It was a chemical. They knew how it was supposed to be made, but these guys all worked together to figure out how to bring it into production. Getting the systems together and getting, going from the lab into actual production. And these guys, they all brainstormed. They worked hard. They got everything working, was producing product, and they kind of rest upon that accomplishment that, we worked together. We all became the same mindset. We all, this is the way we should be doing it. Once that happened, they never changed. And as years went by, the business world was changing. They didn't want to change. They never did, this is the way we did it when we put this place together. There was a clique within that company. There were the guys that were there at the beginning who did all this, and they all looked out for each other, but they kept doing things that way. They kept proceeding on along that lines. And then but as the business world, as the economy changed, as the wants and the needs of that product was changing, they didn't want to change. Our way was the right way. The rest of the world was wrong. Well, needless to say, the company ended up, they had other plants, so they ended up shutting them down, moved, the good people to other plants and just sold the site off to someone else they started making pesticides. There is definitely this kind of an attitude and a culture where, the way we've done this is the right way of doing it. This is the way we've always done it. This is how I see it with the run up to, the attack on Pearl Harbor. the Navy, this is the way we've done it since David Farragut. This is how we ran the Navy. And when it came time to, and of course, by 1941, a lot of the rules had changed and they weren't ready for it and they got burned by it. And what did they do? Did they change? No, they kept it going.
Yeah.
So it was like, it's like there's like, I don't know if it's an American thing, or whatever it is, that Americans really don't like change. And when you challenge their core beliefs, their religions, they become hostile. They become defensive. And, this is the way I've been doing it all my life. I don't want to change. And I think that may be very well probably is what's really wrong with all this. The idea of free thought is, as long as you can have a free thought, but as long as you don't buck the status quo.
Yeah, well, I mean, my wife talks about that with her company too. They recognized a long time ago that they were just losing money because they weren't efficient. So they started talking about changing the corporate culture. They've currently been talking about changing the corporate culture for about 3 years. And they haven't changed the corporate culture yet. They have done nothing. They have made no changes. They are still losing every bit as much money as they used to lose. And she sits there and bitches about it. It's because they're unwilling to actually make any changes. They'll talk about it, but they won't actually do it. And this is coming from the president and CEO of the company who just won't do anything.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's something to explore more in depth at some point in time, but we're not going to find a solution today for that.
Oh, definitely not. Even if there is, because really, it's a sad state. I mean, if this was all education, then we're doing something wrong with education. If it's religion, well, of course, we'll of course be happy because that's, we want to blame them. But, really, is it really the religion, or is it just the individual not wanting to give up on religion, or they can't accept?
Well, I think we built a whole culture around it. Unfortunately, we have a culture that just does not want to change and doesn't want to have to deal with reality. And that's why we are going down instead of up.
Right.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and do your last story before we go way long.
Okay. This is from Slate. When churches do the right thing.
Never?
I think I got a good take on this article. Religious institutions are often viewed as instigators of conflict, oppression, and violence. Yeah. That's due in part to the natural media bias. Conflict makes news. It's harder to notice the many ways in which churches and religious people work for peace and reconciliation. Here are 3 recent stories. Now, I like to just point out things about the story. Well, the first story is about, where's this? Georgia has allowed, people to bring guns into churches, schools, bars, government buildings, and other places. And, there's a church who has ordered its parishes to, not allow guns on site. I mean, that's not too bad. I mean, it's granted, I think, Georgia, if you really have to bring a gun to church, I mean, there's something wrong with that statement that you are compelled to, you absolutely have to have a gun at church. There seems to be something wrong,
Yeah, well, I was just looking at that going, what are they doing? Like Elmer Fudd? We're hunting demons.
Yeah, that might be it. Maybe that's why they need guns, but anyhow.
What the fuck are you afraid of in a church? Come on.
Right. And then the next one is let's see, where is it here? In Europe, church leaders have taken a stand against police raids on Czech mosques. On April 25th, the police in Prague raided 2 Islamic centers during prayers and detained 20 people, including an Indonesian diplomat. They arrested one man for publishing a book they say promoted racism and xenophobia. Local Christian leaders denounced the raids. A Catholic priest called them sinful. Okay, in Czechoslovakia or Czech Republic, in Europe, there's a lot of crazy, anti-racial, they've got some pretty serious rules. And breaking into a mosque to arrest these guys, I don't see really a big problem. But of course, the church arguing against breaking in. Of course, they gotta do that because if the police start breaking into their churches and hauling off their pedophiles, I mean, you're talking the same kind of, you got to defend against these type of things. I can understand that. And then the third part here is, of course, they're talking about the Africa Muslim extremists have kidnapped more than 250 girls from a Nigerian school. This is was it Boko Haram?
Yes, our friends in Boko Haram, yes.
Yeah. And, of course, the Muslims are, the Christian and Muslim leaders have, condemned this and that it doesn't follow the Quran or all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, when I read that, I'm like, but these are fucking Muslims who did it. I mean, why were they even allowed to have that thought? If your religion is that anti-violent, this should never even happened in the first place. You shouldn't have to condemn a Muslim group for doing these things when it should never have happened in the fucking first place. And, and all these stories are like, you should not be doing this stuff. I mean, you shouldn't have to defend attack on a mosque or a raid on a mosque. There should never have been a reason for those police to go in there in the first place. But these guys had, they were breaking the law and they got raided and busted. I don't care what kind of church. If you're breaking the law, you're going to get busted. And then you got these fuckheads in Nigeria who have decided to kidnap and God knows what they're doing to these girls. Apparently, I don't know the story, but these are also the same guys that they're cutting hands off of people and so on. And these are Muslims. They believe that the Quran tells them to do this. And for the Muslims who have condemned this should never even have been allowed to happen in the first place. And they should have been at least more diligent in preventing this idiot from getting this, whoever the guy is, any kind of power to do this kind of stuff. And he should be condemning, they shouldn't even have to be condemning this. If the religion is so perfect, so, it teaches peace, we shouldn't have these problems in the first place. This article should never have to be written because all these religions have peace, love, No, we don't get that. That's why we hear about violence and, this type of stuff because they condone it. The imams and so on have been arguing for jihads against the West, against Americans or whatever. That is not a peaceful religion. And I don't care how you cut it. This should never have happened. If your religion is so peaceful and loving and that, we should never even hear these stories.
Yeah, but you gotta remember the Quran, just like the Bible, is the big book of multiple choice. You can read it and get anything out of it you want to find. Yeah. If you want to find peace and love and all the rest of that, you'll find it. If you want to find violence, you'll find it. You'll find commandments to do anything that you want to do, just depending on what passages you choose to read. So Islam is not a religion of peace any more than Christianity is. Fuck, we got 2,000 years of Christian history to prove that.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as a religion of peace. Jainism, I might argue that's okay. But, you'd have to go pretty far to find a religion of peace. Even people who sit around and think like the Hindus and the Buddhists are peaceful. No, they're not. They're out there shooting, killing, raping, and murdering like everybody else.
Well, oppressing, the whole lot. And like I said, I mean, and that's the thing is, this article should never have to be written that, the stuff that this guy is describing, we shouldn't be dealing with this. We shouldn't be dealing with to have to try to promote peace to your own people. Yeah.
Well, it's not the book that's bad. It's not the religion that's bad. It's the people that are bad.
Right.
They're just horrible, awful, evil people who, if they didn't have the religion, they'd probably find some other justification for doing what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, and that's basically my take. I mean, the first one, of course the question is, why the fuck do you need to have a gun in church?
Well, I think the funniest thing about that, and this is something that never comes up in the media because nobody ever talks about it, but, while there's all this focus on school shootings, church shootings are even more common. There are more church shootings in the U.S., people going into church and shooting up a church, and those are completely ignored by the media because the religious don't want anybody afraid to go to their churches. So now you're just arming people in the churches where shootings are already commonplace. This is going to turn out well, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like a demolition derby. Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah, that article, the second article. I do have this thing it's a little bit off topic, but it's like a lot of the problems we have in fighting the war in Iraq or Iran or Iraq and Afghanistan and all that kind of stuff is the rules of engagement. You can't shoot at anyone in a mosque, or you can't engage anyone in a holy building.
Which I always thought was stupid. I mean, I always thought the whole idea of having rules to war was kind of dumb. Right. It's like, no, you're out there trying to shoot people. If this is a good place to shoot them, shoot them.
Yeah. And, you know, I bet you if you talk to any returning vet who was there, and they will say that, you know, they get into engagement. These guys run straight to the nearest mosque because they know that the Americans can't fire on them. And then they start shooting from that mosque, knowing that now there was, they had to get permission to fire on it. You know, they had to confirm that there were bad guys in there and all that kind of stuff. So in the hour to 2 hours it took to get an okay to fire on that mosque, the battle was over and the Americans went away because they're not going to sit there and get killed waiting for some general to, okay, yeah, it's okay to fire on that mosque. That's the way it worked. And again, it's one of my philosophies of war. There are no rules. The rules went out the window once that first trigger got pulled. You know, once you declare and you go in, there should be no rules. And, it's going to get ugly. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be sterile. It's not going to be TV, it's not like being on a Battlefield 4, Call of Duty. There's blood, guts, gore. Just watch the opening scenes of, Saving Private Ryan. I mean, that's crank up the volume, get the surround going, get the big screen going. And that's probably about the closest you're going to get. I mean, in my opinion, I mean, just from viewing it.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we've made war way too sterile these days where nobody ever gets hurt. And that's why we're so damn willing to do it. You know, if we had gone into Afghanistan, just as an example, and the first month, 10,000 of our guys came back in body bags, we wouldn't have been there. We would never go into any place where we knew we were going to suffer huge casualties. That's why we don't attack anybody who can actually fight back.
Right.
You know, war should not be sterile. War should be dangerous. War should result in a huge number of casualties. As many as possible. That way we don't get into wars very often. War should be the last resort, not the first one.
Right. Exactly. And, but yeah, try to get back to our story, try to keep on topic.
That's not going to happen.
I know, but let's give it a try. Again, we're dealing with, Czechoslovakia. They've got different rules and so on. I know they're really tough on, the blasphemy law. It's really fucked up, I guess. But I think they're just trying to deal with, multiple minorities and they don't want to offend, people don't want to, trying to avoid offending other groups and so on. But if having the police go in there arresting a guy that published books that are against the law, I mean, again, here in the United States, if you arrest a guy who wrote a book, I mean, all the First Amendment, First Amendment crap will come out. I don't know why that's a big deal, why that's anything special. I mean, and holy buildings, if you're hiding you're hiding a criminal. I mean, the Catholic Church, pretty much every church is hiding a criminal somewhere at some time, that we should be able to go into those churches and, serve warrants like you would normally do or whatever you have to do and go in and drag these pedophile priests, arrest them, go in there and get them. And, that the church should not be a sanctuary for anything like that or anything that is, racist or.
I don't think the church should be a sanctuary for anything.
Right.
It's utterly stupid to say, oh look, that building over there, when you walk through the door, you get to scream Ollie Ollie Oxenfree and get away with anything.
Right.
That's the stupidest idea I've ever heard. Alright? I don't give a fuck if it's a church or anything else. You break the law, you go in there, we're going in to get you back. Alright? And to be really honest, I think that there's a lot of countries in Europe right now that are really, really starting to regret allowing widespread Muslim immigration. I mean, take like Sweden, which used to have the lowest rate of rape in Europe. Now it has the highest because they've got Muslim rape gangs running around. they can point exactly to the Muslims and say, you are the responsible parties for the vast majority of our rapes now. But hell, you can't dare tell them that because it might offend their fucking religious sensibilities. Well, fuck the religious sensibilities. I'm so sick of that shit.
Yeah. Hiding behind religion or ideology. It doesn't solve the problem.
It just makes the problem worse. That's the problem.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. That's the thing. Another one we're not going to solve anytime soon because people just don't have the balls to stand up and say, hey, this is a problem. We need to address it. They're too afraid to actually say anything negative to the Muslims. Well, fuck the Muslims and fuck the Christians and the Jews and everybody else. You know, you guys need to grow the fuck up and deal with the reality that surrounds you instead of the imaginary friends and magical nonsense you've got in your head.
Yep. Exactly. We can't solve this problem. It's going to take a higher.
Don't say a higher power.
I'm beginning to wonder. I don't know.
It's going to take it getting to such a huge problem, to such a massive degree that the people on this planet just say, fuck religion. We got to solve this problem. And religion doesn't become a priority anymore.
Yeah.
But I think that day's coming. I think it's coming pretty soon, but it's not here yet. But anyway, I think we should probably do the main event.
Let's do the main event.
This is the main event.
Okay, I know we've talked about this a bit in the past, and I don't want to take a huge amount of time doing this now, but I think we should go into a little bit more depth. We've seen, both in the media and online, various groups who think that they get to take revenge on people for doing things they don't like, through denying goods or services that have nothing to do with the object of their hatred. It happens when the religious think that they get to be able to deny gay people service just because they don't like homosexuality. We see it in stories we've done today. Or we see where liberals think that they can deny legal approval because they don't like a school's religious practices. This isn't that uncommon, yet where is the line actually drawn? I mean, can a religious doctor refuse to cure an atheist patient? Can a liberal lawyer refuse to provide services to a racist client? How far do we allow these social or conscience claims to go? And I think we've already let them go way the fuck too far, to be perfectly honest.
You know, there was, not totally related to this, but it was the Patton Oswalt tweets where he sent out these tweets apologizing for making a racist comment. And then Salon magazine freaked out, this one writer, calling him a racist, and he should lose his job and all the nasty stuff. And Patton Oswalt comes out and then says in a public statement, I never made a racist statement. I only made the apology, as a troll to figure out how the media would react to this. And then he did it a second time. And the same guy from Salon went nuts on Patton Oswalt about being a racist. And again, no, there was no racist statements. He never did. And this guy apparently, this guy from Slate, I don't remember the guy's name, but he apparently says, the tweet said, all this stuff. There were no tweets. This guy's totally making up shit about something that didn't exist. And it's like, I know this is maybe not totally related, but it's like, we're really hung up on things that we have strong beliefs in. There's those who have really strong religious beliefs, and those beliefs say certain things. And because they can't think or they don't want to think, that means that they gotta follow their Bible. That means they gotta discriminate against gays or Jews, what have you. Or, you get a liberal lawyer who, somehow that the idea that, they want to see this world a certain way and they see the world a certain way. And to defend somebody who is opposed to your worldview is appalling, bothers them enough to say that they won't take him as a client.
But see, that's really what I'm talking about. And I actually think your Patton Oswalt story is right on. Because this dude from Salon didn't just disagree with what he said. He went out and said, this guy should lose his job. We should harm him financially. We should do something to get back at this guy for doing something that we don't like. Now, granted, he never did anything wrong to begin with. But the fact remains, you still have these people who want to get back at people. They want to use this person as an example of what we can do to fuck people over if they dare to do anything that disagrees with us. And that's a goddamn problem.
It's just this ridiculous, we hang on to these ideas and we assume that not only do we take our views very strongly, but we almost like, we can't accept someone's opposing view, or we can't acknowledge that there is an opposing view and that opposing view is wrong. So, I mean, if I was a Klan, whatever, I mean, I'm entitled to opinion, but it's, that doesn't make me right. It's just like, I got an opinion. I don't, if I wanted to be a racist or a homophobe or whatever I wanted to be, I mean, I'm entitled to that position. It doesn't make me right. And certainly the other side they have the ability to engage in a discussion saying, well, here's why you're wrong, or this, this is why I'm right and you're wrong, and you can have you're supposed to have a normal discussion. But that seems to have gone away. It seems to be now, my way is right, your way is wrong, fuck you.
Yeah, but it's not even like that. I mean, even in your example of the guy who's a member of the Klan and a racist. All right, I don't agree with his view, and we can sit down and we can have a discussion over it and whatever. But what you're seeing now is this guy comes out and says something racist, and you get, and this is especially from the liberal side, and I'm sorry for liberals who don't think this is right, but this is just what we see. You'll get these people running out going, well, holy shit, he's a racist. We have to find some way to cost him his job. We have to find some way to lose him his house. We have to find some way to cost him his family. We have to take revenge and hurt him just because he says something we don't like. That's not the fucking way this works, okay? Yeah. I'm sorry. It doesn't work that way. And I'm sick and tired of watching it, It's a matter of taking whatever power you have and using it as leverage to punish people you don't like. That's not the way shit works, I mean, going back to the business we were talking about earlier with the Christians who think that they're getting oppressed. I think public businesses need to follow the laws of the land without exception all the time. I don't think you should be able to have an exception based on your religion or whatever else. If you don't like gays, fuck you, don't open a business. As long as you're open to the public, you can't discriminate based on any legally determined criteria. That's sex, race, creed, sexual orientation, whatever. And if you don't like that, go out of business. Okay? Right. But you shouldn't be able to go out and hurt somebody in public because you don't like them.
Right. Yeah, I mean, watching that guy, the Clippers guy, what he's going through, and it's like, what the hell am I looking at here? I mean, really, and that's what I'm trying to figure out what the hell's going on with that. I can understand the backlash, I mean, there's been plenty of sports team owners, Mark Schott, there's been announcers like, Jimmy the Greek. Don Imus, he's been busted a few times for making, racial slurs on the radio. And, and there's been a backlash to all those. I don't know what happened to Shots. I think there was another one. And certainly you used to see it quite a bit in Chicago when some company would do something or make some type of have a racial issue. Jesse Jackson is, he's there calling for boycotts and he's going nuts. Eventually they go into a meeting. He comes out with $2 million in his pocket to put into Rainbow Push, and he gets his apology and everything's done. It's like, it really, Jesse Jackson is an extortionist. He extorts these whoever.
But I think that all the liberals or whoever is doing this kind of stuff, I think they're all extortionists. They're doing the same damn thing. I mean, with Sterling, if the guy's a racist, okay, fine. I don't really give a shit about that. What the fuck does that have to do with him owning a sports franchise? I mean, seriously, show me where the two happen to be connected. Now, if individual people want to go out and boycott and not go see the games, fine by me. But when the fucking league says you're banned for life and we're going to forcibly make you sell this franchise, holy shit, what the fuck is that? You can't do that. It's his goddamn money. And yeah, people can just stop going to see Clippers games and he might go out of business. He might lose millions of dollars and the Clippers might just vanish as a sports franchise. But you can't just arbitrarily go, well, guess what? We just don't like what you have to say or what you think. Therefore, we're going to fuck with you.
Right. Cause that's what I've been seeing. It's like, it's really, everyone's ganging up on the old man who is an idiot. I mean, I have no issue with anybody who wants to speak their mind. Just be prepared to defend that speech. I mean, again, in Chicago or Skokie with the Nazis, the Nazi march in Skokie. I mean, the ACLU, defended them. And, I would love to see the Illinois Nazis go away. I'd like to see any type of these neo-Nazi groups, vanish. I mean, they're along the same lines as the Klan and the Aryan Nation, all these. I mean, it would be nice if these people went away. The idea was it was a free speech issue. These guys wanted to speak these Nazis wanted to go into the most Jewish town in Illinois and, have a rally. As far as the Nazis were, they were looking for their effect, fought in court to get to be able to march. They actually won because it was a free speech. You can't discriminate against speech, but they decided not to march anyhow. They accomplished what they were after. I mean, you're entitled to your speech, but be prepared to, you gotta be prepared to back, to defend it. But then, how can you defend against somebody who's just dead set on, if you make the wrong statement, that they want your job, they want you fired, they want you whatever. And,
yeah, but you'd have to say that if the Skokie thing was going on right now, and it is a free speech issue, whether we like the speech that they have, whether we like the opinions that they have as much right to speak their mind as we do in this podcast. All right? We have no right to stand in the way of their free speech. But if they were doing it today, the ACLU wouldn't be out there. You'd have the liberals out there lifting hoods, taking pictures and going, every goddamn one of you is going to lose your job today and we're going to make sure because we don't like what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's wrong. It's wrong. And it's ridiculous. And it's way the hell too common. I mean, where does it end? How extreme can we allow this to get? I mean, hey, if the manager of the local DMV hates gays, can he use his religious exemption law to get away with not giving gay people driver's licenses? Is that fine? I would say hell no.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, that's only because gay people are currently being defended by the liberals. Now, if it was somebody that the liberals hated, and if the manager of the local DMV hated racists and wanted to refuse to give the Grand Dragon of the KKK a driver's license, how many damn liberals would come out in favor of that? A lot, I would think.
Yeah, there'd be a few. I mean, I want to go down there's another track, because it does seem like, and I don't want to point to liberals, but certainly this March on Wall Street, or the March on Wall Street and March on Main, the
Occupy people.
Occupy, yeah.
The Occutards.
Yeah. It actually popped up, when it first came out, there was a picture and this guy was claiming that this was the Occupy movement in New York on Wall Street, and there was like these, it looked like millions of people filling the streets. Well, someone went and searched out the image and found that it was straight from Google Earth. There was nobody in the street. This guy actually put in every person, to make it look like there was 1 million people standing in the middle of Wall Street. And he sat there defending it. And then when he got called out on it, he kept defending it until he says, well, it's the point of all this. This is, the Americans are opposed to it. And I go, and people are going, no, you're being dishonest. You're being dishonest with what's really going on there. I mean, there was the Million Man March, the million, what those 1 million person marches that were happening.
They never get 1 million people, yeah.
Yeah, they get 100 people and they claim success. And it's like, no, you got 20 people standing out there and they're probably not even there. They were probably pulled together just to have a photo op. I mean, I know this to be a fact. that, there was a hostage. I don't know where he was. If it was it was a Middle Eastern hostage, got released. And it was kind of weird. It was Jesse Jackson went over there. I don't know if it was in Egypt or whatever. But they got the hostage released, and they went to Ramstein Air Force Base. My brother was stationed there, and, they were flying in, and there was a sergeant or whatever, a lieutenant running around trying to find people, people in uniform to go to this one room to create a photo op of this guy returning from from Egypt with, Jesse Jackson. And they actually literally, they scrounged the base to find people to create a photo op. It's like, what the fuck? This is all manufactured news. The American people never saw that or heard of that. Actually, you're getting it straight from because like I said, my brother was one of the guys in the picture. They said that this guy came up with it on a Jeep saying they needed a body to make a picture and, to make Jesse Jackson look good. And it's like, he said he went ahead with it. I don't know if it was a superior officer. He was gonna, I don't know if it was an order or whatever, but he went. It's like, there's like all this manufactured, they manufacture these, these events. I mean, it's like, there's like this manipulation. There's I can relate to a story right in my own hometown where there was someone trying to get a variance on a piece of property. The village was kind of mulling it over because it was a home business and so on. Then there was this one meeting when all of a sudden, first you discover that she was married to a black man, and Operation Push was there to defend or to lend support to this woman to get her variance. And the Operation Push guy, whatever Reverend whoever, called our village president a racist, and our village president shouted him down. He goes, "How dare you come into here and accuse me of being a racist when we have never met, you have never worked, we've never occupied the same room or the same, same space, and you're going to sit here and call me a racist," and left it at that. And, but it was they were trying to turn this, this just a simple zoning ordinance, a zoning variance, into a whole racial thing. And it was like, I'm sure it never left the Herald News, the local newspaper, but trying to build up something that really wasn't there and turn it into the white village board oppressing a mixed couple in a small town. It's like, it was one of those, and when I saw that, I go, fuck you motherfuckers. It's like creating something that isn't there, because you're going to get the most bang, the most, whatever, trying to get as much emotion out of the issue when clearly the facts it was really academic. It had to do with, there was two things. There was the ordinance and then the covenant in that neighborhood. Even if they got the ordinance, they probably still couldn't do it because there was a covenant preventing home businesses in that neighborhood. So basically this person, too stupid to read the covenant, tried to get the village and Operation Push to force their neighborhood to change their covenant. And, the village passed the ordinance, but the neighborhood didn't allow the home business. So it kind of died away. No one's the wiser. It's like, it was over. So it's like, you create these emotional things and work it until you can't work it anymore. And then you abandon it. You leave these people to their own devices. Yeah,
but these people don't abandon it. That's the problem.
Well, they probably, the individual, like they'll attack something, and then when they beat it up enough, they find something else. And they're always going to find something else. And
I don't see that happening though. I mean, even on our show, all right, months ago when we had Justin Vakula on, that's a perfect example. You had all the fucking atheist plus feminist assholes who didn't like what he says, so they went and attacked him until he was forced to give up a position with an atheist organization. They went after his ass and took revenge on him. They weren't willing to just disagree with him. They had to hurt him. Same damn thing happened when PZ Myers was fucking around with the communion wafers, and Bill Donahue and the Catholic League went out and tried to get him fired from his job. They weren't willing to just disagree. They had to seek revenge. Now, granted, in that case, he had nothing to worry about because his college didn't care. But, that's the kind of thing that we're seeing over and over and over and over and over again. And it's ridiculous. And I don't know how to talk these people out of being so goddamn petty and stupid.
Yeah. And that's the mystery to me. Because it seems like these stories come and go. It's the same players. There'll be this one little issue, and they'll blow it to X proportion. Once they've got that, whatever, whether they succeed or not, there's always the next issue right behind it that they jump on and, they're at it again. That to me, that's what seems to be happening. It's not just, I'm just going to be an asshole and any time, it's like, or this being a perpetual ass. It's like, the situation, you blow it out of proportion, you attack it, and it isn't just, trying to have a civil conversation or a discussion. It is, you gotta do harm to these people. Once that's over with, gotta keep it going. There's always is that next one waiting in the wing. I don't know how they get this energy to go and keep doing this. And, I see this, like with the Patton Oswalt thing, this guy just kept going and going. He wouldn't let go of it, even though he was wrong both times. Oswald proved beyond a shadow of a doubt this guy was an idiot, but he didn't have the sense to realize he was being fucked over. And these are guys that they're intentionally misleading the public. I don't know why this guy still has his job, because he's intentionally misled.
Because he works for a liberal rag. That's why.
Apparently that's all you need is, and maybe it's a new thing. This may be the way of, the hippies of the 60s did things this way. So now you keep that going until, it's like, I miss the 60s. I grew up in the 70s. I want to be like the guys in the 60s, so I'll act like them.
The hippies never did this shit. The hippies would be fucking ashamed to do this shit.
Well, again, I'm just trying to use an example is, when the Al Sharpton, when you had the Al Sharpton and the, Jesse Jackson. And I'm picking on these guys because these guys were just opportunists.
Assholes.
Yeah. They were political opportunists. They were basically assholes who intimidated, they extorted, and to their own ends made a fortune. Fucking, Al Sharpton. Do you even remember how he got his start? Does anybody, I'm right now, before I say anything, does anybody even remember how he got his start? Tawana Brawley. Do you even remember that girl? Do you even know what happened to her? But Al fucking Sharpton, he played the race card. He played the, racial bigotry, all this stuff. He's got a fucking TV show. And I bet you no one will even remember Tawana Brawley.
Oh, people do, but, he refuses to talk about it.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and that's it. It's like, and now people are emulating. I think they're just trying to emulate that or trying to bring that back, and it's like, be an asshole. There used to be rules, but, now there isn't. We could be assholes if we want to. If we want to, destroy a person's life, that's okay. It's like, even today with the internet, we don't really need proof. We can put whatever stories we want. We can create stories out our ass to make someone look bad and then turn around and, and then when he really does something fucked up, we can, now we got all these fake stories behind it. Everyone hates the guy. You can get enough people to just say, well, yeah, this guy's an asshole. I won't go see the Clippers. This guy's a racist. Let's fuck him out of his business. It's like, there just seems to be so much stuff going on. This guy apparently has a record of being a racist dickhead, and he's made those statements before. And, because they couldn't nail him the first time around, it's like, well, let's nail him this time around, and if they don't get him this time, there's gonna be a third time. They're not gonna let up on this guy. If he gets off, if he can keep his team, he's kicked out of NBA, so he can't, I don't know what that means. I don't know, and he may still be able to own the team, but he just can't sit in the stands. I don't know what what all that means. But with them trying to force him to sell the team, maybe he doesn't have to. He can appoint a CEO or whatever. He can create a holding company to run it. Well, I don't know. Again, I don't know how those contracts, how those franchises work, if what laws are involved there. But, maybe he could say, hey, he could still own the Clippers, but he just can't go to the games, and you can just, do a hands-off thing, until he's ready to sell it. But if that's the case, they're going to try to find something else to get him to get rid of the team, so it's, no matter what this guy does, it's not going to be good enough. And even if he does sell the team off, it still won't be good enough. They're going to hound this guy until he dies.
Yeah. Well, I think that we've really lost civil debate. I don't think there is any such thing as civil debate. And I hate to just sit down and go, well, it's the liberals and the religious. They're the ones doing it. But I have yet to see a single case that wasn't the liberals or the religious doing it. That's the problem. These people don't want to just go out and take these ideas and go out and debate them and come to a conclusion, or don't, and then just drop it. They have to go out there, and not only do they have to fight over the idea, then they gotta get this guy up against the wall and kick him until he's down.
Yeah.
And, grow the fuck up, guys. I'm sick and tired of it. And if anybody wants to come on and defend this kind of practice, any of you atheist plus shitholes who, went after Justin, why don't you come on here and explain to us all why that was a good thing for you to do? I doubt that they would, because fuck them.
Well, yeah. Well, we're not the battle. Justin was the battle. They won't. They're chicken shits, and I'm doing that. So, hey, come on, chicken shit. Let's talk. Come on here. I dare you. I double dog dare you.
But it won't happen.
I know.
Because none of these people have any guts.
I mean, I'm trying to figure out why did they do it? Why do they go to these extremes to destroy people? Maybe it's that, we don't want to go through legal channels. We don't want to try to get a law passed. We don't want to do this. We want to,
there's no law they could pass.
I'm just trying to say, cause it's that, the Vietnam protesters wanted the war ended today. That's what they wanted, They say, we want the war done right now. And, they were trying to change things like right now, which means you can't just get enough senators, get enough, bring enough people together to make the changes. They wanted protests. They wanted to, disrupt the Democratic, National Convention, because they wanted a Democratic plank to end the Vietnam War in 6 months. And that's why they were protesting. And that's why they tore up the city. They did all their shenanigans. Most of it was, there was very little peace in that, the hippies that were protesting were not as peaceful as they like to think they were. I know because I talked to a couple that they went around trashing the city. I just heard these stories, and it was really weird coming from these people. So, but it was like, these people were out there, they wanted it right away. If you wanted it, you can get it right now. It has to stop now. We have to be able to change things right now. You can't just talk about it or try to, what procedures or, figuring out ways of ending something. They want to just stop it. They thought, oh yeah, we could just, we just drop our guns and walk back to the United States, hop on our planes, in Saigon and fly home. Apparently they didn't care about who we were leaving behind. They didn't really care about the country, of Vietnam. They just cared about that we were fighting a war that was, this corporate whatever war that they were opposed to. They wanted to end it. If we have to destroy someone's life, or we have to do something to make an example of this guy, we gotta do it now. We gotta do it as ugly as, whatever. Make it,
yeah.
It's making a statement, and it seems unethical. And they will happily bend the morality and ethics to get what they want.
Oh, it's completely unethical. I mean, you're talking about Vietnam. Those protesters did not go out there and take all the senators and the people who supported the war and the people who voted for the war. They didn't take those people out there and ruin their lives so that they would never work again in politics or anything else. That's what the fucking liberals are doing today. They're going out there and they're beating these people until they're down and so bloody and disfigured that they can never stand up again, going, ha ha ha, don't fuck with us anymore. That's the problem. These people are 100 times worse than the people who were out there protesting the Vietnam War.
Yeah. what they want is something to happen now. I mean, that part of the mindset, they want it now. They want to feel good now. So if that means, embarrassing somebody, to, attack credibility, attack, their morals or whatever, and they want to do it and they got to keep doing it, and it gets worse and worse, but they won't let up until they get what they want. And if it means breaking all the moral and ethical rules, so be it. The ends justify the means.
Yeah, well, they don't want just to stop this guy from saying whatever he's saying. They want to hurt him so bad that nobody else ever dares say anything they disagree with.
Right.
That's as far as I can go with this.
Yeah, I can't go any further. I mean, I'm kind of stuck.
If anybody wants to come on and defend this, the lines are open. But I don't think any of you have any fucking guts to do it. And I think that's about it for this week.
Yeah, I would say.
All right. Well, that's all there is. There isn't any more, at least not until next week. Please don't be afraid to come on the show and air your grievances. All it takes is some evidence and balls. And surely you have that, right? Probably not. But we'll take all comers. You know where we are. You know how to find us. Come and get us. Don't make us beg. Until next week, challenge your preconceptions and examine your beliefs. We can't do it all for you. See you in 7 short days, and take care.
Good night, everyone.
You've been listening to the Bitchspot Report Podcast with your hosts, Cephas and Mike. You can follow us on Twitter respectively at Bitchspot1 or at JDRipper1962. Please visit our website at report.jdragononline.com. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/The Bitchspot Report. We're also on Google+, iTunes, and YouTube. Those links are on our website. We'd love to hear from you. You can reach us via email at report@jdragononline.com. Comments, ideas, and suggestions are always welcome. We'll be back next week with another fun and fact-filled episode. Please tune in again.